Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final afternoon of the Lively Grit Daily House. It's been a fantastic event, I would say that, because we organised it, but it really has, and I'm really excited about the final afternoon. We had an incredible morning with Dell, talking about the impact of technology and AI across, I can't believe I'm going to say this, Will, but the phygital world. I thought I got away from words like experiential and things like that, but it's exciting. What's even more exciting is the role that technology is going to play on creativity. And so I'm very excited about our next guest. C. Craig, do you want to come and take your place? And he's going to do a fantastic keynote on some of the amazing work he's been doing. Thanks to Wowzer for making all this happen, and hope you get inspired and excited. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. All right, so a little bit about what I'm going to be talking to you all about. I'm a director, and I've been lucky enough to work with some amazing people. Quite a few are here with us today. And I've had the opportunity to work with a lot of great tools in order to expedite what we're doing and make our work more efficient so we could spend more time being creative and less time being wrong, right? So I'm going to talk to you all about the visual imagination from thoughts to screen, because for me, the furthest distance in filmmaking is from here to out here, right? So like to have those ideas are great, but the translation of those ideas it's what's important. And I was lucky enough to be able to work with Wowzer, with being able to utilize their tool in coming up with great images and things for our team to move with. So I'm C. Craig. I am a writer and director, and I've been lucky enough to work with a lot of really cool people, and especially the Entertainment Technology Center in USC. I'm a super fight on person. And we had the opportunity last year to make an incredible film that went on and did very well. And now we're working on a new film that utilizes far more tech than I even thought possible. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is the ethics of what we're going to be talking about today, at least for me, and the considerations. So everything that we're talking about with generative on this side and all the slides that you're going to see, they're all from projects that I'm working on or projects that are on their way through. And the things that, all of the images that you were seeing were made during the ideation phase, right? This is all in-house stuff. This isn't stuff for straight to market. This is no different than cutting out magazine clippings or finding something on Instagram and sending it to your team and things like that. So just to make sure that we all have a good frame of reference of where we're starting. And all of these images were made through Wowzer. Most of them were made through Wowzer using OpenAI and Stability.ai. Some were made through Runway, and some were made through Midjourney. So genres, I assume everyone here has started using AI or generative in types of tools like that, but for me, genres were really specific because I'm kind of agnostic in that space. I do things that are live action and comedy, and it's great for that. I also do stop motion ideas and things in that space, and I was surprised to see how well it handles those type of ideas. Wish I could try to get so y'all can see. And obviously, like the classic kind of Pixar style of animation, it does those jobs really, really well, and it allows your team to be able to see what you're saying pretty quickly. And one of the things after my own heart is science fiction. And so when I was trying to describe to my team, the astronauts are falling down the side of the mountain on Mars, they're like, okay, cool. But I'm sure there was 12 different ideas of what that looked like, and we were able to get to what that would be pretty quickly. So who's this for? So in addition to regular consumers, for my team specifically, it's for the concept team, our artists. It's for camera. I work with an amazing cinematographer, Catherine Boyd Batstone, who is my partner through all of this. Costume, production design, our producers, and perhaps most importantly, executives, because the types of stories that Eric Weaver and I tell are not cheap ones, right? So you have to get people on board pretty quickly, and they can't just take your word for it. You need to be able to show them exactly what you're trying to do. So this is an example of on a different project that I'm working on, where we were ideating between looking at different costumes for a villain. And this would have previously taken months to figure out, right? Step by step, right? And being able to go through that prototyping process at a fast rate of speed, this went from something that would have traditionally taken months, it took a couple of weeks, right? So each step of the way, we got closer and closer until we started off obviously far left, and by the time we got far right, it was like that was our finished idea in that space. And the costume designer was very happy to be able to like spend her time, because this isn't about a thing about taking out of people's budgets. It's how they spend their budget and how they're spending their time, right? I would rather you be able to spend the time on creating something and making sure that it's right, versus we spend a few weeks, a few months on getting things wrong multiple times, right? So a project that is near and dear to my heart at this particular moment, Chickaboom. Chickaboom is a story about this awesome little girl who wants to be a magician. And so I immediately need to, it's also my first animation, so this allowed me to get into that space without previous experience. So I was able to go through this process. I mean, I must have made like, at least 1,000 variations of this. And that's one of the things to remember in this space, is that the opportunities are endless. What is special about it is in choosing in the decision-making process. That's what it's about, like deciding when something is right, because you can just go on forever and ever and ever. And we decided what was right. And once we decided that, I want to show y'all from beginning to end, or beginning to like, we're at the modeling process now, but how that moved. So once we picked that, then we started talking to a storyboard artist who started making out, like this was the first ideation of Chicka, right? And we started seeing all of her expression chart and what that felt like, and it didn't quite feel right yet. So then we got to this, and it started getting closer to there. And these are all done by real human artists, right? Because creativity requires humanity. That's how it works. So from there, working with some amazing artists from some very fancy companies, they got it even more refined. And we were lucky enough to be working with one of the best costume designers in the world. And once she got this version of Chicka, we wound up here at our final design of Chicka, right? So it's something that started inside of a space where it was made through generative. It became a very real image that went through the hands of multiple artists. Like, because for our team, the goal is to not have someone replace, is to give artists more hands than they would naturally have, right? So for set design, he was with it too. So for set design, like, so a simple example of like, hey, working with Kat or someone like with a DP, and it's like, hey, I want to have this room set up. Talk to the production designer. It's like, hey, we want to have this set up, and I want the light to come through a certain type of way, and I want the room to be a sufficient amount messy. That's great for a sketch, but what generative can allow you to do is take it to the next process, and you could get closer to what you'll have on the day, right? And that's a huge asset to a set designer. It's a huge asset for the team, because Sidley LeMay, who's a far better director than I'll ever be, said the #1 rule is to make sure we're all making the same movie, right? So the goal is to, like, if we know what that room is gonna feel like long before it's time for camera, we're all in a better position. And then one of the greatest things that generative could do is when you have fantastical style of ideas, and you say, hey, like this story takes place in the favelas of Brazil, but like if there's a waterfall going through there, I don't know where you would begin with that, right? So, but in this space, you can show that, and you can make that, and like now the production designer understands what that world is, and it's like, yeah, and there's also graffiti. And it's just like, wait, what? Okay, and then they add graffiti to it, and they understand that space, and that's an extremely valuable tool in the making of mistakes, because your mistakes don't cost as much. Actually, they just cost you refining your prompt, right? The poetry of prompts. It's really important to be able to sit there and think about that, and really kind of hone in on what's what. Again, for me, for stop motion and things like that, I was like, hey, I want this town, and this town is going to be on the top of this mountain. And there's going to be oceans all around, and there's going to be, sorry about that. There's going to be this town, there'll be ocean all around and boats. And this was a way for my team to understand exactly what I wanted the houses to look like, what I wanted the boats, and how I wanted the ocean to hit it. And I guarantee this saved us so much time and so many ideations. But it took me probably about 100 or so prompts to get there, right? It took a couple hours to get to that point, but it was useful time, because if I'm willing to sacrifice the time and do that, I've saved my team that time, right? This is a sport where I can't give it to you and say, now it's your problem anymore, right? This is a thing where we have to take on, if it's our creativity, we should be able to help our team along. More of that particular town, because I just felt like adding that slide because I really liked it. All right, so a big thing is the importance of moments, right? Filmmaking and storytelling is about the moments that you have. And I don't know about for y'all, but for me, every one of my stories starts from a very specific moment that I'm thinking about in my head, and then I build from there, right? So being able to show your team, this is the tone, this is the outlook, this is the lighting, things like that. So this is a moment where I was really fortunate. Last week was a script I wrote about my hometown, about New Orleans, did well with the Nickel Fellowship, and I wanted to be able to show like what that world looked like, and to craft that moment, a moment in the script, and be able to show the team, this is our beginning block. If we can start from here, this is the soul of the movie, and we all know what to do from there. And the team instantly understood, and then we're good to go. This one is a little bit more closer to a different part of my imagination. I wrote a movie about a place I'd never been, Tokyo, and I wanted to set it in a Macbeth type of space and have the three witches, but through the way I would do it, right? And so, honestly, that took more prompts. This was early on, and I'm ashamed the amount of prompts it took to get there, but I got there, y'all. But again, it takes the guesswork out, right? The beauty of this is not in the ease of it; it's in the operation of being able to say, I'm not making A, I'm making B. Oh, we're all making B? Great, let's keep it going. And I don't know about y'all, but I have a story about a teddy bear that got lost and had to go find its way home, and it swam through a creek. And if I would have just told y'all that, everybody would have had a much different picture in their head than this particular teddy bear. But this is the teddy bear we're following. This one, this is the guy. But it's things like that, and it's finding the moments that create character, right? Because you know more about that bear in that particular space than you would in just words, right? I'm an image-driven person, even though I started off as a writer. Like the reason I write my words is to make the images, right? I wish the lighting was a little bit different, but this is one of my favorite things on earth right here. This is the portrait in Aunt Raspberry's chateau. And and I wanted to be able to tell my team, yo, there's this really weird portrait in this French chateau that this kid becomes enamored with, and the portrait comes to life and it helps her do things, and they're like, yeah, that's great, okay, cool, guy. But being able to paint it out and show the team, and have the production designer say, oh, I got that, and she started sending me a lot of awesome things off of that. My cinematographer, she understood the vibe of what she was getting. The moment she saw it, the first thing she said was like, it's a mix between something like The Shining and a children's story. I was like, yeah, that's me, Demented. Tom Thuddy and Blockhouse said the same thing that we worked with. And again, just to show that your imagination is without the guardrails in this space, right? I really love 2D animation too. It was one of my first loves in life, because like most of us, you start getting cartoons very early on in life, right? And so when I thought about this particular story about this kid that wound up robbing a bank and feeling real bad with it as a child, and like what that looked like when she was sitting in this abandoned car and it's raining, and she understands that she's done a thing that she can't take back. Like I can't draw. Now I can draw decently, but I can't do that. And it gave me the ability to be able to. It's an imagination turbocharged, and it gives you the ability to have an outward imagination. And working with a tool like Wowzer, where you could get into this space and have like hundreds of outputs pretty quickly, and gives you a chance to be wrong faster and be right faster, right? So consistency, here comes the most embarrassing part of it. To show the consistency, since I did not reach out to any of my actors, I had to use myself. So there's me as a cowboy and all kind of other stuff. But once you train the model and you get it set in, the consistency remains like throughout all of those scenes. Like I did hundreds of images in each one of those, and it remained as consistent as possible, and to be able to lock in a character. And that's a relatively new thing for us, y'all. Like 6 months ago, consistency was the Achilles heel, right? So it's just going to get better and better and stronger for us. So the new horizons of where we'll end with here for me is obviously Sora is coming, right? And it's going to be great, and it'll be fantastic, and we'll be able to do a lot of cool things with that. And we're all anxiously waiting for that particular tool. But for me, it's recognizing the exponential advances in text and image to video. That's going to be huge for our industry, and not in the replacement space, but in the enhancement space, right? The poetry of prompts will undoubtedly become a more ubiquitous language. We'll understand it more. We'll be able to just kind of talk through it in a way that's not razzle dazzle and special. The consumer tools will grow, but more importantly to me and to most of y'all in here, the professional tools will grow, and you'll be able to get into the minutia of images and very specifics of what you want to change, what you want to keep, much more in a way than you could do now. We're making big advances on it, but I guarantee this time next month it'll be a different world. And most importantly to my heart, creativity, craftsmanship, and the opportunities will continue to exist, right? Creativity will always require humanity. We'll always have to be at the forefront of what we're doing and what we're thinking. It's not a tool. It's not Skynet, right? It's no different. The hammer doesn't build a house, right? So right now we're the ones building, and I'm grateful for it. So thank y'all. Yeah, questions, comments, complaints.
Yeah, I mean, well, one of the things I think you said is really spot on about consistency.
Right.
Actually, we have like 8 AI consultants over here, and one of the things that we do is we have like a little toolbox of things that we build for our clients. Different tools, like whether we're using ChatGPT or Claude or Midjourney and Dolly, and we're usually training teams, but we're also building tools for them, because a lot of them don't want to learn; they just want to use the stuff. So it looks like what you have with Wowzer on the consistency side. One of the things I liked of all the slides, I loved 2 slides the most. One was the girl that you had all those concepts of, like 10, 15 concepts of, and then of you. And it was consistently you. And I think that has been something that's really been a challenge, is like outside of using like apps that are specifically for like, photo, like to replace your LinkedIn profile picture stuff. Like, I would love to learn a little bit more about how, what your tool does as far as consistency. Like, can we upload a profile picture of us and say, hey, make it look like us? Or are we prompting it to, like, how are you getting those types of consistent results?
Oh, through model training.
Model training?
You're uploading as many images as you possibly can of that particular subject in every type of lighting that you could think of.
Yeah.
And
is that something that's in Wowzer? Like you're uploading it, or is it in the model itself? Like
that's in the model itself.
Yeah.
Correct? Yep.
Yeah. Coming to Wowzer. Got it.
Can we? Because I kind of want to just expand on that a bit more. Because obviously, it's great to have you on stage, and there's a lot of, I suppose, like-minded tech people in the audience. But particularly for the fact that we're recording this, for people that just, their only experience is probably ChatGPT right now, but they're in the creative industry. So, for instance, we're in the event industry, and one of the things we always have to do is try and visualize what that event is. And
Right.
I've used CAD designers, and it's an absolute pain in the neck to get what's in my head as a creative into somebody else's head onto a piece of paper. So can you just, for the really basic people like myself who are excited by the concept of this, just to give us a bit of an idiot's guide of what it is to prompt something, what it is to untechnify it for me, please.
Absolutely. If you were to start from zero, right, with it, you go to Wowzer and you would type in your prompt. Like, let's go with the most basic prompt on earth. Lady sitting on bench, right? And you start getting these images back, and let's say, that's not quite exactly what I'm looking for. Now it's time to go, what I would say from a basic prompt to a more advanced prompt, not precision prompting yet, but more advanced. Let's say I need a 40-year-old woman sitting on the bench, tired from work, right? Grocery bags beside her. Now you're going to start getting closer to that. Like it's this particular sport of generative is a specificity sport, right? And the moment that it stops being magic once you don't need whatever, right? If you're willing to take whatever, it's magic. The moment you need specificity, it's going to take some work to get into that space. So it might, and you're going to see it, you're going to be able to eyeball and be like, oh, that's getting closer. Okay, well, let me see variations of that. So you could hit the button and say, I want to see variations of that. Or you can be like, it's not quite there. Let me start changing the words, right? And then you start getting into, do you change your words? Do you change the order of your words? Right? Things like that, right? And then, and if you want to, let's say the image is looking good, except it doesn't have the vibe that you want. Oh, now it's golden hour, right? It's golden hour in this, or you know what? Give me a 75mm lens on that, right? Now we're getting closer into precision prompting space, right? Because you want to be able to go from butter knife to scalpel with it, right? And it just depends on what your particular thing is that you're looking for with it. You might have hit the thing you were looking for after prompt number 3, and then that's that. And then you won the day at that moment. Because the thing is, like I was saying earlier, is the beauty in this, what is the decision. Only the creatives can decide when you have hit that thing. Otherwise, it's just going, you'll be chasing your tail forever.
Okay, so I have a creative director. We just built a brand. So we have a couple.
Congrats.
Anyway, and we have a couple of female images that we've already done, but we want to transform those female images, not just in a portrait, but in actively communicating different aspects of communicating to our target audience.
Okay.
Can we take a image that we already have and bring that to life through this program?
When you say to life, do you mean in video?
Not necessarily in video, but maybe she's, instead of just a photograph, she's sitting at a desk. She's doing something else.
Absolutely. So that's part of the model training process of all of the platforms, right? So especially for those of us that have photographer friends or have the ability to do that, if you really get that person to really sit down and go through a whole session with them, instead of just pulling pictures that you happen to have in your Apple photos, right? Uh-huh. If you have that person at the particular age that you need them to be and all of that stuff, and you upload all of those in, what your output is going to be pretty precise.
Awesome.
So I got a comment and a question. Did anybody ever say they look like Chris Paul?
Every day of my life.
So that was more like a comment. The question, because I was like, wait a minute. So the question is about legality, because you know how you said there's really no guardrails in this space, but if you guys are producing something that's going to become commercially available, how do you safeguard you incidentally infringing on somebody else's copyright?
Yeah, obviously the question of the hour, right? That's why for us and our team, we stay inside. These are in-house things that we're building off of, right? To me, it's, at least to me, it's no different than if I come in with photographs, magazine clippings, something I found on Instagram, something I found somewhere else, and I hand this to my team and be like, this is our jumping off point, right? We don't make things that go straight to market from where they are. And that's even with the things that we build from models, because at this point, everything I build is from a model.
All right, thank you.
Hello. So I had a question about if you use AI for soundtracks for some of your films, or sound effects, or if you have used that, or are there any potential future applications that you see?
I mean, of course, Respeecher is one that we've been thinking about, but we haven't used yet, right? But we're certainly really interested in what they do. I was using a couple of days ago. Runway has a audio like application that they have, and I was really impressed by how good it is, right? But because of the legal implications and things like that, we haven't gone that route yet. But I'm obviously watching it pretty closely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Researchers actually doing a huge amount of work out in the field to be as ethically as possible. If you follow any of their posts and work, they are a major advocate of ethical use in AI.
Yeah, it's impressive stuff, man. Yeah. All right, that's that. Cool. Thank you.
Let's hear it for C. Craig. Thank you. Well, thanks very much.